This is Bob Scott with NIMS & Associates. Today we're presenting Acumatica for nonprofit. We'll be going through the core Acumatica financials, and then we'll just briefly be going through fund, grant, and program accounting using Acumatica. Nonprofit accounting with Acumatica builds on Acumatica's already strong financial legacy. The nonprofit suite of enhancements to Acumatica builds on general ledger, receivables, payables, cash management, and purchasing functions to add fund and program and grant accounting features to Acumatica. Creating a fund in Acumatica. To create a fund in Acumatica, you navigate to the Fund Management module under Nonprofit Accounting. Choose Funds, and you can see that you can add a fund here. Now, funds have some unique characteristics. Funds in the sense of Acumatica means that a fund will always be in balance. Acumatica maintains that funds are always in balance, and any transaction between funds creates a due-to, due-from dynamic. In fund maintenance, you set up general information like the fund code and what part of the segment of the sub-account in Acumatica that relates to. You can also assign specific cash accounts to the fund. You can tell it which budget is going to be applicable to this fund. You can have attributes for user-definable fields. You can record activities from the CRM module. You can specifically say what general ledger accounts will only be used in this fund. Same with the sub-accounts. You can specifically say that this fund will only relate to specific sub-accounts, which in turn allows you to say which employees have access to this fund. If the employee is not listed here, they do not get access to the fund. Furthermore, you can define and granularize what they can get into. This is above and beyond the standard Acumatica security. In fund maintenance, you can also assign non-inventory parts to funds to be used specifically by the fund. Once a fund is established, lots of inquiries and reporting can be performed on that. General ledger trial balances, balance sheets, and income statements can be generated by fund. Budgets can be loaded by fund. Budget inquiries and account inquiries can be performed by fund as well. Creating a grant in Acumatica Nonprofit Accounting. To create a grant in Acumatica, navigate to Nonprofit Grant Management. When setting up a grant, it's important to note that grants occupy a segment of the Acumatica sub-account structure. So in this case, the grant ID 100 grant makers is segment value 100 of the grant position in the Acumatica sub-account. Grants can be assigned to a grant class that can further define the nature of a grant. Grants can be assigned to a manager. Grants have a specific life. They have starting and an ending date so that transactions can be limited to the end point of a grant. Grants can be subject to drawdown receivable processing if necessary. Budgeting can be performed by grants. Participants are customers that belong to a grant and would be invoiced on behalf of the grant. And the invoice can happen in a drawdown methodology. Attributes are user-definable fields assigned to a grant. You can track CRM activities. You can say specifically what general ledger accounts are going to be available to a grant, and certainly what sub-accounts would be available to the grant. In this case, the grant position is the fourth position in the sub-account. And you can see that all the sub-accounts that are related to this grant have been predefined and available. Contacts for the grant, those would be contacts with either the grantee or grantor. And then employees, these are the people that are able to get in and see the contents, enter transactions, etc. for the grant. This is above and beyond normal Acumatica security. Once grants are set up and transactions are processed in grant management, there's a great deal of inquiries and reports that allow you to drill into and really get to the heart and the nub of how your grant is performing. So for example, in reporting, once a grant has been created, budgets can be entered for the grant. Budgets can be entered in on an account by sub-account basis, or they can be entered in for the entire grant as a whole. And Acumatica has the ability to prorate grant budgets across the life of the grant. In grant management, there are lots of inquiries that allow you to see how grants are doing. The easiest and probably the most popular one is just the grant trial balance. Grant trial balance will tell you specifically how a grant is performing. Other inquiries that show up for purposes of grants is the grant summary. Grant summary is kind of a dashboard look and feel that shows how individual grants are doing when compared to budgets. If we look at this grant here, we have actual spend of $55,000 against a budgeted value of $400,000, leaving us $344,000 available left on the grant.
To subscribe to our channel or user group, refer to the links on the screen. And we'd like your feedback, or if you have any suggestions for future snapshots, feel free to reach out to us. You can email me at hkim@nimsassociates.com or give me a call at 877-454-3200, extension 6346. Thanks for watching.